Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video, we are going to look at some example problems from writing and evaluating expressions. Our objective is to evaluate variable expressions with given values for the variables and to write and evaluate variable expressions for given problem situations. So the first part here is a reminder about the order of operations. We will need to use this on this worksheet. So parentheses first, or any kind of grouping symbols, then exponents or square roots, etc. Then you multiply and divide in order from left to right, and then you add and subtract in order from left to right. All right, here's some more examples about problems like we will be doing on this worksheet, and they're very similar to the other problems that you worked with in this weekly folder. So here's an example where we will evaluate the expression. Evaluate means we'll find a number for an answer, and it's 5b to the fourth plus 17, and they're going to give us what the variable is equal to. Sometimes they say let b equals 5, sometimes they say when b equals 5, sometimes they say if. So there's different ways for them to give you the value of the variable. But once you know what it is, then you take that value and you replace it wherever you see that variable in the expression. So if we have 5b to the fourth plus 17, the first step is to replace b with 5, and that's what they did right here. So now we have 5 times 5 to the fourth plus 17. Now we've already worked with powers, so if you want to use your calculator to simplify 5 to the fourth power, you can do that, or you can write out 5 to the fourth in expanded form, which means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and then you can do that multiplication on your calculator or in your head, and that will equal 625. So 5 to the fourth equals 625. So that was the next step that we did. We didn't have any parentheses, so we started with the exponents part. Now we're going to do the multiplication right here. 5 times 625, and that equals 3,125, and we still have the plus 17, and our last step is to add these together and get our answer. Sometimes you will have two variables, like in this example over here. We have an x and a y, and they give us what each of those are going to be equal to. So you will replace each of them in the expression and then solve. Remember that a number next to a variable means to multiply those together. So 5x means 5 times x, so if x is equal to 8, that means 5 times 8. And then you follow the order of operations, you do the multiplication before the addition, and you get your answer. And there's one more example here. This one is a little bit more complicated, and there are some problems on your worksheet, maybe like number 9, where it starts to get a little bit complicated. So when you get to that one, look back at what happens in this problem and make sure that you're following the order of operations. Let's look at number 4. 4 says 8 divided by x plus 2. So let me write that the way it would look if I wasn't typing the problem. It would look like this: 8 divided by x and then the plus 2. If it was 8 divided by the quantity x plus 2, then the x plus 2 would be in parentheses. It would look like this. That's not what that problem says because there's no parentheses around it. So it's not that. It's just 8 over x, 8 divided by x, and then plus 2. And then they tell us what x is. It's 4, so you'd replace 4, and then you'd simplify 8 divided by 4, and then when you get that answer, you would add 2 to it. Let's look at number 8. It says 3ab. Now 3ab means 3 times a times b, and then it's plus b to the third power. They tell us to use 9 for a and 2 for b. So we replace a with 9, we replace b with 2, and when we come to the b to the third power, that's also 2, and 2 to the third. Now the next step we're supposed to do is the exponents. There's no parentheses to do. I put parentheses around the 2, but I wouldn't have had to. I was just making sure that I didn't forget any parts of it. So then I would just leave the multiplication alone for now and figure out what 2 to the third power is. There's two ways to do that. I could write that that is equal to 2 times 2 times 2, and that would be easy enough to do. Or I could use my calculator, and I could say 2, and then x to the y tells me to use a power to the third power, and I see that it's equal to 8. All right, then my order of operations tells me that I need to multiply before I add. So I need to take 3 times 9 times 2. You can do that in 2 steps or 1 step. 3 times 9 is 27. And I'll just write the times 2. And 27 times 2, and you can check with the calculator if you need to, is 54. And then I would add the 8. And 54 plus 8, and again, check with your calculator if you're not sure, but that would be equal to 62. So number 3 would be 62 when we're all done simplifying it. On the next section, you are going to translate English sentences, words, into math, into algebra. So for each of these, you can pick whatever variable you want, and then using these keywords, write using algebra. So you'll do, let's do number 14. A number divided by 2 plus 7. So any letter you want for your variable, I'll say x divided by 2 plus 7. Or you can type, if you're typing, you can use that for divide by, x divided by 2, and then plus 7. In 15, it says 4 times the quantity of a number plus 6. That would be parentheses. You're going to put this part in parentheses and then multiply it by 4. So you'd have 4 and then parentheses, and then do the number plus 6 in the parentheses. And you're not going to simplify these or anything else. You're just going to leave your answers as your expression, which will have variables and numbers in that when you're done. The next few problems, you're going to try to figure out what the rule is. So you're going to write it in words and then write it with an equation. So try to see if you can tell what is happening to the x to get to the y term. So from 1 to 1, it's hard to tell. It doesn't look like it changed at all. How about from 2 to 4? Maybe I added 2. But that same rule has to work for all of them, and I did not add 2 to get from 1 to 1, and I did not add 2 to get from 3 to 9. How about times 2? 2 times 2 is 4, but 3 times 2 is not 9, and 1 times 2 is not 1. So what could it be? I think it has an exponent. If I take 2 and then I raise it to a power, I will get 4. And if I take 3 and raise to that same power, so your rule in words might be raise the x value to the power of, and then you figure out what that is. And then the equation is going to be y equals x to the, and then you figure out what power that is. 18 and 19 are the same. You need to figure out what happens from x to get to y. And there's some hints. In number 18, it says that you have to multiply x by something and then add something. So there's going to be 2 steps. In 19, I wrote the equation as something times x, but it actually, you might be thinking more like x divided by something. So you figure out what that one is. It might be x over something, or maybe it's a fraction times x. And then there's just one problem at the end. Write an expression for the money made at this amusement park. And then for the second part, find out how much money they made for certain numbers of people of different ages. Now, if you get stuck, I'm available to help you out. You can just send me an email and say, I can't figure out the rule for number 18. Can you give me a hint? Or you can come to the ASC room anytime it's open. It doesn't even have to be when I'm there. It can be, but it could be any other teacher can help you with this as well. Or you can come to my office hours. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.